Imagine, if you will, a tiny grain of salt, so small, almost invisible to the naked eye. Yet this humble speck holds within it the weight of centuries, the stories of empires risen and fallen, of bustling trade routes and quiet kitchens. We often overlook salt, a commonplace seasoning, sprinkled carelessly onto our food. But to understand its true significance, we must journey back in time, to a world where salt wasn't just a culinary spice, but a precious commodity, a symbol of wealth, and even a form of currency. Long before supermarkets stocked shelves brimming with glistening crystals, salt was a hard-won treasure. Think of the ancient Egyptians toiling under the scorching sun, patiently evaporating seawater in shallow basins. The glistening white crystals that formed were more valuable than gold to them, a necessity for preserving their vital food supplies and sustaining their vast civilization. Picture those ancient workers, their movements slow and deliberate under the weight of the sun, knowing the fruits of their labor would nourish their communities for months to come. Their quiet diligence, fueled by the knowledge of salt's importance, whispers to us across millennia. The Romans, with their mighty legions and sprawling empire, understood salt's power. Their soldiers, the backbone of their vast dominion, were paid partly in salt. Salarium, the origin of our word salary. Imagine a Roman soldier, weary from a long march, receiving his meager payment, a portion of which was vital salt, ensuring his health and the preservation of his food. His quiet satisfaction, knowing he could provide for himself, a small comfort amidst the harsh realities of military life, fades into the mists of time, but the importance of his salt remains clear. Salt wasn't just for preserving food, it was a symbol of life itself. Throughout history, salt has been associated with purity, hospitality, and even spiritual significance. In many cultures, sharing salt with another was a sign of trust and friendship, a silent pledge of loyalty binding people together. Picture a simple meal shared between friends, a sprinkle of salt uniting the flavors, the quiet contentment of shared companionship, warmed by the comforting glow of lamplight. Trade routes snaked across continents, driven by the insatiable demand for this seemingly simple mineral. Caravans laden with salt wound their way through deserts, their journeys fraught with danger, yet fueled by the promise of profit. Merchants, guided by stars and ancient knowledge, navigated treacherous paths, their lives dictated by the ebb and flow of this precious commodity. Their travels, though fraught with peril, whisper tales of resilience, ingenuity, and the enduring human desire for the necessities of life, necessities as simple and profound as a humble grain of salt. And so, we find ourselves at the threshold of our journey, ready to delve deeper into the rich and fascinating history of this ubiquitous and essential mineral. Let the quiet rhythm of these stories lull you into a peaceful sleep. Imagine, if you will, a time long before supermarkets and refrigerators. Picture a world where preserving food wasn't as simple as popping it in the freezer. For our ancestors, salt was a precious commodity, a lifeline against hunger and spoilage. Think of the early farmers, their hands rough from tilling the soil, their faces weathered by sun and wind. They toiled under the relentless heat, nurturing their crops, harvesting the fruits of their labor. But the bounty of the harvest was fleeting. Without a way to preserve it, much of their hard work would spoil before winter's arrival. And so, salt became their ally. This seemingly simple mineral, mined from the earth or harvested from evaporated seawater, possessed a remarkable power. Sprinkled on meat, fish, or vegetables, salt drew out moisture, inhibiting the growth of bacteria and mold. A simple act, yet one that transformed the lives of these early people. Imagine the relief, the knowledge that the fruits of their labor, carefully preserved with salt, would nourish them through the cold, harsh months ahead. This wasn't just about survival. It was about security, about planning for the future, about building a foundation for their communities. Salt's importance extended far beyond simple preservation. In ancient Egypt, salt was not just a culinary ingredient. It was a vital component in mummification rituals, a process integral to their belief system. The careful preservation of the body, aided by salt, reflected their profound spiritual beliefs and their reverence for the afterlife. Imagine the meticulous work, the careful application of this precious substance, each grain a testament to the significance of this process. In ancient Rome, salt was so valuable it became a symbol of wealth and power. Soldiers' salaries were even partly paid in salt, a practice that gave us the word salary itself. Think of the Roman legions marching across vast empires, their strength and discipline fueled in part by the essential mineral that maintained their food supplies. Their conquests, their power, were inextricably linked to the access they had to this seemingly humble resource. Trade routes stretched across continents, carrying salt along with other precious goods, demonstrating its economic significance in the ancient world. The story of salt is a story of human ingenuity, resourcefulness, and adaptation. It is a story woven into the fabric of our history, a testament to the power of a seemingly simple substance to shape civilizations and societies. So, as you drift off to sleep, consider the quiet power of salt and the countless stories it holds within its tiny grains. Let its gentle history soothe you, and let the quiet hum of the past lull you into a restful slumber. Imagine, if you will, a world without salt. Not the kind you sprinkle on your fries, but the vital mineral necessary for life itself. It's a world far removed from our own, a world where the simplest act of preserving food was a constant struggle. And yet, in this world, salt wasn't just a necessity. It became the foundation of empires, the engine of trade, and the source of unimaginable wealth and power. Long before coins jingled in purses, long before even the idea of money as we know it, salt was currency. In ancient Egypt, salt was so valuable it was used as a form of payment, a worker's wage, a soldier's reward. Think of the pyramids, those magnificent structures that stand as testaments to a powerful civilization. Their construction, in part, was fueled by the trade in salt, a commodity that allowed the pharaohs to command the labor of thousands. The glistening white crystals, mined painstakingly from the earth or harvested from salt flats, were more precious than gold in some regions. Across the Mediterranean, in ancient Rome, the word for salary, salarium, directly derives from sal, the Latin word for salt. Roman legions, the backbone of their vast empire, were paid in salt, a tangible reminder of the state's power and the soldiers' vital role in securing the trade routes that brought this precious commodity to the heart of the empire. Picture those legions marching, their boots heavy on the dusty roads, their minds perhaps preoccupied not with the thrill of conquest, but with the thought of the salt that awaited them, a symbol of their hard-earned reward, their connection to the strength of Rome. The importance of salt extended far beyond Europe. In the vast empires of China, vast saltworks and complex systems of distribution flourished. Control over salt production and trade became a key element of power, a way to control populations and fund ambitious projects. Imagine the intricate canals and waterways, shimmering under the sun, used to transport salt across the sprawling landscape. The boats laden with the white crystals silently gliding along, their cargo representing wealth, influence, and the very pulse of the empire. Even in the Americas, long before European contact, salt played a pivotal role in the cultures and economies of many indigenous groups. Some communities traded salt for other valuable goods, creating intricate networks of exchange and alliance. Others carefully guarded their salt resources, preserving them as carefully as they guarded their sacred sites. The slow, steady rhythm of life in these communities was, in many ways, dictated by the availability and importance of salt. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, consider the seemingly humble grain of salt. It's more than just a seasoning. It's a testament to the enduring human need for trade, the desire for power, and the fundamental role that even the simplest of resources can play the course of history and the rise and fall of entire civilizations. The quiet story of salt whispers of empires built on its back, a narrative as vast and ancient as the oceans themselves. Let its gentle history lull you into peaceful slumber. Imagine, if you will, a world before refrigeration, a world where preserving food was a constant challenge. And in that world, salt wasn't just a seasoning, it was a precious commodity, a lifeline, a key that unlocked the doors to trade and prosperity. Picture caravans, long lines of camels or sturdy oxen, their backs laden not with silks or spices, but with glistening blocks of salt, painstakingly harvested from ancient salt flats or evaporated from seawater under the relentless sun. These weren't just animals bearing burdens, they were the arteries of an intricate system, a network that pulsed with the lifeblood of commerce. These salt roads, as they came to be known, weren't always paved with stones or marked by milestones. Sometimes they were simply well-worn paths, etched into the landscape by the tireless hooves of countless animals. Other times they were navigable rivers and seas, their waters carrying salt-laden vessels, small dhows with billowing sails, or sturdy barges pulled by the tireless efforts of rowers. These routes stretched across continents, connecting distant cultures and civilizations in a silent, steady exchange. Think of the Sahara Desert, a seemingly unforgiving expanse, yet crisscrossed by these vital trade arteries. Caravans carrying not only salt but also gold, ivory, textiles, and slaves would journey for weeks, even months, navigating by the stars and relying on oases for respite. The rhythmic pace of their journey, the creak of the carts, the low hum of conversation, these were the sounds of commerce, the quiet symphony of a global network built on the simple, essential need for preservation. In the heart of Africa, vast salt lakes provided the source for this precious mineral. Entire communities thrived on the salt trade, their lives intertwined with the ebb and flow of this essential commodity. They were the miners, the transporters, the merchants, their livelihoods inextricably linked to the shimmering crystals. Their prosperity, the very fabric of their society, was built on salt. The wealth generated didn't just feed them, it fostered the arts, fueled technological advancements, and fostered architectural marvels that still stand as testaments to the power of this ancient trade. Further afield, in the Himalayas, vast salt ranges provided similar opportunities. Here, the terrain was treacherous, the journey even more arduous, but the rewards were equally substantial. The salt from these lofty heights traveled down steep mountain passes, carried on the backs of porters, often navigating treacherous cliffs and raging rivers. Their resilience, their unwavering dedication to their task, speaks volumes about the enduring importance of salt in shaping their communities and their cultures. But the salt trade wasn't just a story of physical journeys, it was a story of cultural exchange. As caravans traveled from one land to another, they carried not just goods, but also ideas, stories, and customs. Languages blended, artistic styles intertwined, and new innovations blossomed from the cross-pollination of cultures. The salt roads, therefore, weren't simply trade routes, they were conduits of civilization, fostering growth and understanding across vast geographical distances. The very history of these routes echoes with the quiet murmur of commerce, the steady beat of hooves, and the enduring legacy of a commodity that, while seemingly simple, played such a significant role in shaping the world we inhabit today. Let the gentle rhythm of this story lull you into a peaceful sleep. Now, as you drift towards slumber, let's consider something quite unexpected. Salt. Not just the seasoning on your dinner, but salt as money, as a form of payment, a cornerstone of ancient economies. Imagine a world where the very essence of life, this simple mineral, held the power to buy and sell, to build empires and wage wars. In ancient times, long before coins and paper money, salt was incredibly valuable. Think about it. In a world without refrigeration, preserving food was a constant struggle. Salt, of course, was the key. It prevented spoilage, making it possible to store food for longer periods, to survive lean times, to feed armies on long campaigns. This crucial role in survival naturally translated into economic power. The availability of salt, or lack thereof, dictated the prosperity of entire settlements. Those who controlled salt controlled life itself, in a very real sense. In Rome, soldiers were even partly paid in salt. The word salary, in fact, derives from the Latin word salarium, meaning salt money. A soldier's salary wasn't just a bonus. It was a vital component of their compensation, a direct acknowledgement of salt's critical importance. The Roman Empire, with its vast network of roads and trade routes, understood the economic and strategic implications of controlling salt production and distribution. Taxes were levied on salt, contributing significantly to the empire's wealth and power. These weren't small taxes either. They were substantial sources of revenue, vital for maintaining the vast military machine and the intricate bureaucratic network that held the empire together. Imagine the weight of that responsibility, the silent power residing in each tiny grain. Across the continents, similar stories unfold. In the Himalayas, salt was traded along ancient routes, bartering for goods and services. Its value as precious as gold or silver in many remote communities. The arduous journeys, the perilous mountain passes, all highlight the immense worth attached to this seemingly simple substance. Imagine the caravans winding their way through those breathtaking landscapes. The rhythmic padding of animal hooves, a gentle lullaby against the backdrop of towering peaks. The precious cargo of salt, swaying gently with each step. In China, salt was a heavily taxed commodity, often controlled by the imperial government. The government's monopoly on salt production and trade ensured a significant income stream and provided an effective means of controlling the population. The price of salt, the amount of salt one could afford, often dictated one's social standing and economic opportunities. A simple tax on salt, you see, could determine the fate of families, villages, even whole regions. So, as you gently close your eyes, consider the quiet history of salt, a substance so ubiquitous, yet so powerful, so essential, yet so historically significant. Its influence extends far beyond the dinner table,
a silent testament to the extraordinary power of seemingly ordinary things. The legacy of salt whispers through the ages, a quiet hum beneath the surface of history, a reminder of how even the smallest things can hold the greatest influence. Sleep now and let the calming rhythm of history lull you into peaceful slumber.
Now, as the embers of the day fade, let's drift gently towards a contemplation of salt, not just as a seasoning, but as something far more profound. Throughout history, across countless cultures and faiths, salt has held a sacred place, woven into the very fabric of spiritual practices and beliefs. Its presence isn't merely a culinary detail, it carries a weight of symbolism, a whispered story of purity, preservation, and the enduring connection between the earthly and the divine. Imagine, if you will, the ancient Egyptians, their lives deeply intertwined with the Nile's life-giving waters. Salt, a substance born from the sun's kiss upon the earth, represented for them the very essence of life, a powerful force capable of preserving the body for the afterlife. The meticulous mummification process, a journey into the realm of eternity, was inseparable from the use of natron, a naturally occurring salt mixture. As you breathe deeply and let your thoughts drift, picture those ancient hands carefully preparing the deceased, their movements precise, guided by a profound belief in the salt's transformative power. Journey now to the far reaches of the Himalayas, where the air is crisp and thin, and the Tibetan Buddhist tradition thrives. Here, salt is not just a seasoning, it's an offering, a symbolic gesture of purification and respect. Think of the monks, their movements slow and deliberate, preparing tormas, ritual offerings, often sculpted from butter, flour, and yes, salt. These intricate creations, imbued with prayer and devotion, are presented to the deities as a gesture of reverence, a tangible link between the earthly realm and the sacred. Feel the quiet reverence, the peace that pervades these mountain monasteries as the scent of incense mixes with the subtle earthiness of salt. Across the world, in the heart of ancient Israel, salt played a significant role in the covenant between God and his people. Its use in sacrificial offerings served as a symbol of permanence and dedication, a pledge of unwavering loyalty and faithfulness. The very act of salting the earth, as a gesture of marking a place or a boundary, carries a symbolic weight, a reflection of the enduring nature of the covenant itself. Allow the weight of this historical significance to settle upon you, a quiet understanding of how even a simple grain of salt could bear so much meaning. In many cultures, salt is associated with hospitality and good fortune. Sharing salt with a guest wasn't just about seasoning a meal. It was an act of trust, a promise of friendship and goodwill. The breaking of a salt shaker, once considered a sign of ill omen, perhaps reflects a primal understanding of salt's importance as a unifying and life-sustaining element. Let the image of a shared meal, seasoned with salt and shared stories, bring a sense of warmth and belonging. And so, as we reach the end of our journey through salt's spiritual significance, let its gentle symbolism settle within you. It is a reminder that even the simplest of things, the most commonplace substances, can hold profound meaning, woven into the rich tapestry of human belief and experience. Let the quiet murmur of history lull you into a peaceful slumber, carrying with it the quiet wisdom of salt, a substance as ancient and enduring as the earth itself. Now breathe deeply, letting go of the day's concerns, and drift gently towards peaceful sleep. Now, let's drift gently into a story about something seemingly simple, yet incredibly powerful throughout history: salt. You might sprinkle it on your food without a second thought, but for centuries, control over salt has meant control over life itself, and sometimes it's even ignited wars. Imagine a time long ago, before refrigeration, before easy transport. Salt was essential. It preserved meat and fish, preventing spoilage and ensuring food security throughout the year. This made it more valuable than gold in many places, especially for communities reliant on fishing or hunting. A village without salt faced starvation, a grim reality that shaped entire societies. Think of the Roman Empire, its mighty legions marching across vast landscapes. Their soldiers, the backbone of this powerful empire, depended heavily on salted provisions. The Roman legions had sophisticated supply chains, ensuring a constant flow of salt to their far-flung outposts. Disrupt those supply lines, and you struck at the heart of the empire's strength. A shortage of salt could lead to mutiny, desertion, and the collapse of military campaigns. The control over salt mines and trade routes became a key factor in Roman military strategy, a quiet but powerful force shaping their conquests. Let's journey further east to ancient China. Here, too, salt was a coveted commodity. The government often held a monopoly on salt production and distribution, using it as a source of revenue and control. This control, however, could be a source of resentment, especially for those living in remote areas who faced high prices or shortages. These tensions, born from unequal access to this vital resource, sometimes erupted into rebellion and unrest. The power of the state, in a way, rested partially on its ability to manage the flow of salt. Travel west again to the medieval period in Europe. Here, salt became entangled in complex feudal systems. Kings and lords often levied taxes on salt, a crucial source of income that funded their courts and armies. Salt taxes, though seemingly mundane, often sparked protests and even peasant uprisings, as the burden fell disproportionately on the poorer classes. The control of salt production and taxation was a symbol of power, a tool used by rulers to maintain their authority, while the lack of it fueled discontent and resistance. Even beyond direct control, the very trade of salt played a significant role in conflicts. Consider the salt caravans crossing the Sahara Desert, carrying precious salt from the mines to distant villages and cities. These routes were perilous, often fraught with dangers from bandits and rival tribes to the harsh conditions of the desert itself. Control of these trade routes became a prize worth fighting for, a source of both wealth and strategic advantage, turning salt into a key element in tribal and interregional conflicts. And so, as you drift towards sleep, consider the humble grain of salt. It's a small thing, easily overlooked, yet its history is intertwined with grand narratives of empires, wars, and the struggles of ordinary people fighting for survival. The story of salt is a quiet reminder that even the most basic necessities can become powerful forces in shaping the course of human history. Now, let the gentle rhythm of these words lull you into a peaceful slumber. Imagine, if you will, a world where the shimmering expanse of sun-baked flats meets the endless blue of the sea. This is the world of the salt marshes, a landscape both harsh and beautiful, a place where the earth and the ocean meet in a constant, gentle dance. For centuries, people have toiled here, their lives intertwined with the rhythms of the tides and the slow, patient work of salt production. Picture the salt workers, their skin tanned by the relentless sun, their movements deliberate and practiced. They are not slaves, not entirely, though some might find their lives little better than servitude. Many are tied to the land, their families having worked these marshes for generations. Their connection to the land is deep, a heritage woven into the very fabric of their lives. The rhythmic scraping of their tools against the earth, the gentle sloshing of brine in wooden troughs, these are the sounds of their lives, the soundtrack to their long days under the sun. The process itself is a slow, careful dance with nature. Seawater, gathered at high tide, is carefully channeled into shallow basins, where the sun's heat slowly evaporates the water, leaving behind a crust of glistening salt crystals. The work is backbreaking, demanding patience and endurance. The sun beats down mercilessly, and the salt air, while invigorating, can be harsh on the skin and lungs. But within this arduous labor, there is a certain meditative quality, a rhythm to the work, a predictable cycle of effort and reward. The salt, once harvested, is a precious commodity. It's not merely a seasoning, it's a vital preservative, essential for preserving food and preventing disease. This makes the salt workers, though often poor, vital members of their societies. Their labor is the foundation upon which larger economic structures are built. Cities and empires rose and fell, but the demand for salt remained constant, a silent testament to its enduring importance. This dependence on salt shaped social hierarchies in subtle ways. Those who controlled the salt marshes, landlords, merchants, or sometimes even the state, held significant power. They dictated the prices, controlled the flow of this vital resource, and exerted considerable influence over the lives of the salt workers. This power was not always benevolent. Labor was often exploitative, wages meager, and working conditions harsh. Yet a sense of community often existed among the workers, born from shared hardship and the mutual reliance inherent in such labor. They supported each other, sharing stories and songs as they worked, finding solace in the simple rituals of their daily lives. Generations lived and died under the sun's gaze, their stories etched into the very salt they produced. Each grain held within it the sweat, the struggle, and the resilience of countless hands. Their labor, though demanding, sustained life in countless ways. The legacy of these salt workers persists, a reminder of the enduring connection between humanity and nature, between labor and life, between the simple crystal and the complex tapestry of human society. As you drift off to sleep, feel the gentle rhythm of the tides, hear the whisper of the wind across the salt flats, and remember the quiet dignity of those who toiled beneath the relentless sun. Imagine, if you will, a world without salt. Not just a world with less salt on your fries, but a world where the very preservation of food, the construction of roads, and even the development of sophisticated tools were vastly different. Salt, that seemingly simple mineral, played a surprisingly pivotal role in shaping human history and technological progress. Long before refrigeration, salt was crucial for preserving food. Think of the long, arduous journeys of explorers and traders. Their ability to travel far and wide, to explore new territories and establish trade routes depended heavily on their ability to preserve their provisions. Salt-cured meats and fish, preserved vegetables, these weren't just delicacies, they were necessities. This need for preservation drove innovation. People developed ingenious methods for extracting salt from the earth and sea. Early methods were simple, perhaps boiling seawater in shallow pans under the sun. But these methods themselves spurred further technological advancements. The construction of larger, more efficient salt pans required engineering skill, leading to the development of better tools and more refined techniques. Consider the Roman Empire, a civilization known for its advanced infrastructure. Their vast road network, the very arteries of their empire, relied, in part, on salt. Salt was a valuable commodity, and the roads built to facilitate its transportation were essential for the empire's economic prosperity and military might. The roads themselves were a testament to Roman engineering expertise, and the need to move salt efficiently only enhanced the focus on improved road construction, material science, and logistical planning. The demand for salt influenced the design of carts, the development of better wheel technology, even the construction of bridges and tunnels to overcome geographic obstacles. The influence of salt extended even further into the realm of metallurgy. Salt, or more precisely brine, played a role in refining metals, removing impurities, and improving the quality of the final product. This was especially important for the creation of strong and durable tools, weapons, and agricultural implements. The quest for better metalworking techniques, fueled by the demand for salt in the process, drove the exploration of new alloys and processes, pushing the boundaries of metallurgical understanding. It's a fascinating thought, the humble grain of salt subtly influencing the development of the sword or plow, the very tools that shaped civilizations. And salt wasn't just a driver of technological advancement in practical applications. Its economic value played a significant role in social structures and political power. In many societies, control over salt production and distribution equated to control over wealth and influence. This led to innovations in trade, finance, and governance. The taxation of salt, its use as currency in some instances, all contributed to the growth of complex economic systems and spurred the development of administrative and accounting practices. So, as you drift off to sleep, consider the quiet, unassuming power of salt. It's a substance that has shaped the course of human history, subtly influencing everything from our diets and our journeys to our roads and our tools. Its story is a gentle reminder of how seemingly simple things can have a profound impact on the world around us. Let the quiet rhythm of this story lull you into a peaceful slumber. A peaceful slumber. A peaceful night. Imagine, if you will, a world before refrigeration. A world where preserving food was a constant battle against spoilage. The answer, for centuries, lay in a simple, seemingly ubiquitous substance, salt. Not just for flavor, but for survival. Salt was the key that unlocked vast empires and propelled intrepid explorers across oceans, driving the age of exploration in ways you might not have considered. Think of the mighty Portuguese, their caravels cutting through the waves of the Atlantic. They weren't just searching for new trade routes, they were searching for salt. The lucrative salt trade of West Africa fueled their expansion, providing the necessary funds to build larger ships, train better sailors, and venture further into the unknown. Each barrel of salt, painstakingly harvested and transported, represented not just a commodity, but a stepping stone on the path to global dominance. The preservation power of salt allowed them to stock their ships with enough food for months-long voyages, voyages that would have been impossible otherwise. The salted fish, the preserved meats, all testaments to the critical role salt played in their success. Across the ocean, in the burgeoning Spanish Empire, the story was similar. The conquistadors, driven by the thirst for gold and glory, also relied heavily on salt for the logistical success of their expeditions. Armies marching through unfamiliar territories, relying on salted provisions to sustain them through arduous campaigns. The preservation of food was essential to their ability to establish settlements and maintain control over vast swaths of land. Salt was their silent ally, enabling the conquest and colonization of new worlds. And it wasn't just European powers. Consider the vast empires of the East, the intricate trade routes of the Silk Road, crisscrossing continents. Salt featured prominently in these networks, its value understood and appreciated by merchants and rulers alike. Salt was a form of currency, a vital commodity that facilitated exchange and fostered economic growth. The control of salt mines and trade routes often translated directly to political power, shaping the dynamics and destinies of nations. Imagine the journeys, the hardships, sailors battling storms, enduring scurvy and starvation, their very survival often tied to the dwindling supply of salted provisions in their holds. Every grain of salt represented a small victory against the relentless forces of decay, a testament to human ingenuity and resourcefulness. The preservation of food, thanks to salt, transformed long, arduous journeys into achievable feats, enabling the exploration of far-flung corners of the world. The maps were drawn, new lands claimed, all underpinned by the seemingly simple yet incredibly vital role of salt. The age of exploration wasn't just about daring navigators and powerful monarchs. It was also about the quiet, unassuming power of a mineral that preserved food, sustained armies, and fueled ambition. Salt, in its quiet way, played a pivotal role in shaping the world we know today. So breathe deeply. Allow the calming rhythm of my words to wash over you, and drift off to sleep, remembering the long, salty journey that shaped our history. Now, drift with me to a time of great change, a time when the world began to hum with the rhythm of machines. We're entering the Industrial Revolution, and even the humble grain of salt felt its impact. For centuries, salt had been gathered painstakingly, a laborious process often tied to the rhythms of the sun and sea. Think of sun-baked salt pans, shimmering under the relentless heat, workers carefully raking the glistening crystals, a cycle repeated for generations. Small, family-run operations were the norm, their lives as predictable as the tides themselves. But the invention of new technologies began to ripple through this ancient industry. Steam power, once a novelty, became a workhorse, driving powerful pumps that could more efficiently drain salt marshes and accelerate evaporation. Imagine vast, engineered salt works, not just small plots of land, but sprawling complexes humming with the steady chug of steam engines. These weren't just improvements in efficiency, they were a complete transformation. The scale of salt production exploded. Where once a single family might produce a few tons a year, factories could now yield hundreds, even thousands, with far fewer hands. This mass production didn't just mean more salt, it meant cheaper salt. The price plummeted, making this essential ingredient accessible to a much wider population. Think of the countless kitchens across the land, once reliant on limited, expensive supplies, now able to freely season their food. The impact reached far beyond the simple seasoning of meals. The preservation of food, vital for a growing population, became easier and more affordable. Salting meat, fish, and other provisions was no longer a luxury, but a practical necessity made possible by the plentiful, inexpensive salt flooding the markets. The rise of railways further fueled this change. Salt, once confined to local markets, could now travel hundreds of miles, connecting distant communities and industries. Imagine long trains carrying cargo of sparkling salt, a steady stream connecting the bustling factories with towns and cities, a physical manifestation of this growing interconnected world. The salt trade, once a localized affair, became a part of a much larger, more complex web of commerce. And so, the quiet, sun-drenched world of traditional salt production slowly gave way to a new era of industrial might. The sounds of the sea and the sun's warmth were slowly replaced by the rhythmic clanking of machinery, the hiss of steam, and the rumble of trains. Yet, even with this vast technological shift, the fundamental importance of salt remained unchanged. It continued to be essential, a life-giving element in the food we eat, a critical component in a world constantly evolving. And as the quiet hum of the factory fades into the night, remember the journey of salt, from ancient sun-baked pans to the heart of the modern industrial age. Let these images settle gently as you drift into a peaceful sleep. Now, as the embers of the day fade, let's consider something seemingly simple, yet profoundly important: salt. We've journeyed through history, seeing its impact on empires and individuals, and tonight we'll gently explore its continued presence in our modern lives. Think of the familiar sprinkle of salt on your evening meal, the subtle tang that enhances flavor, making the simplest dishes sing. That's salt, of course, sodium chloride, playing its ancient role, enhancing our food. But the story doesn't end with the dinner table. In our modern kitchens, salt is more than just a seasoning. It's a preservative, helping to extend the shelf life of many foods, allowing us to enjoy fresh produce and cured meats for longer periods. Think of the jars of pickles on your shelf, the salami hanging in your refrigerator. Salt is silently working to keep them safe and delicious. Beyond the kitchen, salt's role expands into the realm of medicine. While excessive salt intake can be detrimental to health, carefully controlled amounts play an important role in various medical applications. Intravenous saline solutions, for example, are vital in hospitals, replenishing fluids and electrolytes in patients who have experienced dehydration or significant blood loss. It's a simple yet powerful solution, directly supporting life. Consider the importance of salt in maintaining proper hydration. Our bodies constantly lose sodium through sweat, and replenishing it is crucial for optimal bodily functions. Athletes, for instance, are keenly aware of the need for electrolyte balance, often consuming sports drinks that contain sodium along with other essential minerals. This ancient mineral is still a vital companion in our physically active lives. Salt also finds itself in unexpected places within modern society. It's a critical component in numerous industrial processes, from the production of soaps and detergents to the manufacturing of certain plastics. These aren't uses you encounter daily, but they highlight salt's versatility and its far-reaching influence on our manufactured world. Think for a moment of road de-icing in winter. The spread of salt on icy pavements is a testament to its ability to lower the freezing point of water, making roads safer for travel.
This seemingly simple act connects the ancient uses of salt with the technological advancements of the modern world. It's a quiet, unsung contribution to our safety and well-being. Even the most advanced technologies rely indirectly on salt. The extraction and refining of salt often involves sophisticated equipment and processes, underscoring its value within modern industry. The seemingly mundane grain of salt has become an integral player in our technological society, a silent partner in the advancements that shape our daily lives. So, as you drift off to sleep, remember the unassuming grain of salt. It's a substance with a rich history, a vital element in our modern world, a quiet yet powerful force present in the most unexpected places. Sleep well.
Now, let's drift gently towards the present day, to the world of salt as it exists today. Imagine, if you will, a vast, interconnected web stretching across continents and oceans. This is the modern salt trade, a quiet giant humming beneath the surface of our daily lives. It's not as dramatic as the ancient caravans, nor as perilous as the salt wars of old, but it's just as vital. Think of the countless grains of salt, harvested from sun-drenched salt flats, deep ocean waters, or ancient subterranean deposits. Each tiny crystal represents a journey, a story of its own. Some travel just a few miles to reach your kitchen table, while others embark on epic voyages across the globe, carried by massive cargo ships, traveling through canals and across seas. The modern salt market is a complex tapestry woven from various threads. There's the industrial salt, used in everything from water softening to the manufacturing of chemicals and plastics, a quiet workhorse behind many of the products we use every day. Then there's the food-grade salt, the familiar white crystals we sprinkle on our food, each variety with its unique flavor and texture, depending on its origin and processing. Sea salt with its delicate mineral notes, rock salt, coarse and robust, and the finely milled table salt, ready to enhance the taste of countless meals. The production itself is a blend of ancient techniques and modern technology. Some salt farms still operate much as they have for centuries, relying on the sun and wind to evaporate seawater, leaving behind glistening layers of pure salt. Others utilize sophisticated machinery to harvest vast quantities from underground mines or deep ocean extraction sites. This technological advancement allows for the efficient production of salt, catering to the immense global demand. But the trade isn't without its challenges. Climate change, for instance, poses a significant threat to salt production in many regions, altering weather patterns and impacting the delicate balance of evaporation and rainfall needed for traditional salt farming. Sustainability is becoming an increasingly important factor, with concerns about water usage and environmental impact prompting a move towards more eco-friendly methods. And then there are the economic considerations. The price of salt, though seemingly insignificant on a per-unit basis, fluctuates based on global demand, production costs, and transportation expenses. Political stability and trade agreements play their part too, influencing the smooth flow of this essential commodity across borders. It's a fascinating interplay of geography, technology, economics, and even politics, all quietly shaping the simple grain of salt that you might add to your food. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, picture this vast network, this silent symphony of salt production and distribution. Imagine the sun-drenched salt flats, the rumbling cargo ships, and the countless hands involved in bringing this essential mineral to your table.
Let the gentle rhythm of this global trade lull you into a peaceful slumber, a quiet appreciation for the complex journey of something so simple yet so vital to our world. And as the grains of salt settle, so will you into a deep and restful sleep.
Now, as the gentle hum of the evening settles in, let's drift together towards a quiet consideration of salt. We've all sprinkled it on our food, felt its familiar crunch. But have you ever pondered the journey of salt from the earth to your table? Its story, like so many others, intertwines with the health of our planet. Salt, in its most basic form, sodium chloride, is essential for life. But the methods we use to extract and consume it have consequences. Imagine vast, sun-drenched salt flats stretching to the horizon, shimmering with a pristine white. These are often the source of our table salt, the result of centuries of evaporation from ancient seas or inland lakes. The process of harvesting this salt, while seemingly simple, can subtly alter the delicate balance of these ecosystems. The extraction itself can disrupt the habitats of specialized plants and animals uniquely adapted to these saline environments. Think of tiny crustaceans or rare birds whose lives are intimately tied to the salinity and the subtle chemistry of these places. Their delicate world can be easily upset by large-scale salt mining. Then there's the energy cost. Pumping water, processing, and transporting salt all require energy, contributing to our overall carbon footprint. Even the seemingly insignificant act of transporting salt over long distances adds to the problem, with trucks and ships emitting greenhouse gases. It might seem like a tiny contribution, but when you multiply that by the millions of tons of salt produced and consumed globally, the impact becomes significant. And what about the salt that ends up elsewhere? Consider the runoff from our roads in winter. The tons of de-icing salt used to keep our highways clear eventually seep into the surrounding environment, contaminating soil and waterways. This excess salt affects the delicate balance of freshwater ecosystems, harming plants and animals that are not adapted to high salinity. Fish and amphibians particularly are vulnerable to these changes, their life cycles disrupted by increased salt concentrations in their habitats. It's a quiet, unseen impact, yet it subtly alters the landscape. Think of the oceans, too. The salt in the sea is essential, of course, but human activities are altering the salinity of coastal areas. Agricultural runoff, carrying fertilizers and other chemicals, introduces additional salts into estuaries and other sensitive coastal zones. This process can disrupt the delicate balance of marine life, harming sensitive plants and animals struggling to cope with the shifting salinity. The health of our oceans, vast and deep as they are, is intertwined with even the smallest details of our consumption. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, remember the quiet story of salt. It's a reminder of the interconnectedness of our actions and the environment. A simple sprinkle of salt on our food carries with it the echoes of ancient seas and the quiet concerns for the balance of nature. Let this gentle awareness calm your mind and lull you into a peaceful slumber. Sleep soundly, knowing that even the smallest things can have a profound impact. Now, as the embers of the day fade, let's gently turn our thoughts to something vital, something we encounter daily, yet often overlook: salt. We sprinkle it on our food, almost without thinking. It enhances flavors, preserves our meals, and has been a cornerstone of human civilization for millennia. But the humble grain of salt, so essential to life, also holds a fascinating and surprisingly nuanced story when it comes to our health. Think back to your ancestors. Imagine the long, arduous journeys, the preservation of food for the harsh winters, the sheer physical labor that was a part of their daily existence. Salt was more than just a seasoning. It was a precious commodity, a symbol of survival. Access to salt often dictated the prosperity and health of entire communities. And yet, this same substance, so crucial then, requires a careful consideration in our modern world. You see, our bodies need salt. Sodium, the key component of salt, plays a critical role in regulating fluid balance, nerve impulses, and muscle contractions. It's an essential electrolyte, helping to maintain the delicate equilibrium that keeps us functioning smoothly. A deficiency in sodium can lead to various problems, from muscle cramps to more serious health issues. This is why a complete absence of salt from our diet is neither recommended nor healthy. However, the story doesn't end there. In our modern world, we often consume far more salt than our bodies truly need. Processed foods, fast food, and even many seemingly healthy options are often surprisingly high in sodium. This excess intake is where the potential health concerns arise. High salt consumption is strongly linked to increased blood pressure. When we consume too much sodium, our bodies retain more water, increasing the volume of blood circulating through our vessels. This added pressure on the blood vessel walls strains the cardiovascular system, increasing the risk of hypertension, heart disease, and stroke. This isn't to say that a little salt is the enemy. Rather, it's the consistent, excessive consumption that presents a risk. Furthermore, excess salt can contribute to other health issues. Some studies suggest a correlation between high sodium intake and kidney problems, as the kidneys work harder to filter out the excess sodium. It may also play a role in the development or worsening of certain types of stomach problems. Therefore, moderation is key. Finding a balance between consuming enough sodium to maintain healthy bodily functions and avoiding excess is paramount. Remember, this isn't about eliminating salt entirely, but about making mindful choices. Reading food labels carefully, opting for fresh ingredients whenever possible, and preparing meals at home where you can control the amount of salt added can all contribute to a healthier relationship with this ancient and essential substance. A balanced diet, proper hydration, and regular exercise will also help to counteract the negative effects of excessive sodium intake. As you drift off to sleep, consider the long history of salt, its vital role in our bodies, and the importance of finding a harmonious balance in our consumption. May these quiet thoughts bring you peaceful dreams, and may you wake refreshed and ready to face the day with renewed energy. Sleep well. The year is 2077. Imagine, if you will, a world where the sun dips low over fields of shimmering, salt-encrusted plants. Not the harsh, white expanse of traditional salt flats, but something gentler, more integrated into the landscape. Genetically modified halophytes, engineered to thrive in saline environments, silently work their magic, drawing sodium chloride from the earth and storing it within their leaves. Harvesting is a quiet affair, gentle machines gliding through the rows, collecting the precious crop with minimal disturbance. The era of vast, sun-baked salt pans, with their intense labor and environmental concerns, is a distant memory. The trade routes, once bustling with ships laden with sacks of salt, have adapted. Instead of vast quantities of raw salt, smaller, more refined products are shipped. Imagine sleek, automated cargo drones carrying precisely measured crystals of gourmet sea salt, infused with subtle flavors from specific locations. The delicate floral notes of the Mediterranean halophytes, the earthy undertones of the Andean varieties. These drones navigate the skies silently, a whisper of commerce in the upper atmosphere. Local markets, once dominated by rough-hewn blocks of salt, now offer a dazzling array of flavored salts, each with its own unique story. Consumption has also evolved. The sheer volume of salt consumed has lessened. We've learned the delicate balance, recognizing its essential role while understanding the dangers of overindulgence. Processed foods, once laden with sodium, now feature subtle, carefully measured additions. The focus has shifted towards the appreciation of salt's inherent qualities, its ability to enhance flavors, to preserve food in innovative ways, to create textures that delight the palate. Salt cellars are no longer utilitarian. They're beautiful objects, handcrafted from sustainable materials, showcasing the precious crystals within. In coastal communities, small-scale artisanal salt production continues, a testament to tradition and craft. These salt makers, often using solar evaporation methods refined over centuries, produce limited quantities of exquisitely flavored salts. Their products are prized for their unique character, their connection to the land and the sea. These tiny operations are preserved and celebrated, not as relics of the past, but as living links to a sustainable future. The oceans themselves, once threatened by over-extraction, are slowly recovering. Sustainable practices have helped restore the balance, and the delicate ecosystems of coastal regions flourish. The relationship between humanity and salt has become one of respect and understanding, a partnership built on careful stewardship. We've learned to appreciate salt not merely a commodity, but as a vital component of a thriving world, a key ingredient in a harmonious ecosystem, a silent witness to the evolution of our culinary landscape. As the gentle sounds of the night lull you to sleep, perhaps you too can imagine this serene future, where salt is not a source of conflict, but a symbol of balance and understanding. Let the calming rhythm of the ocean waves guide you into peaceful slumber. So, we've journeyed together, haven't we? Through millennia of human history, following the glistening trail of salt. We've seen it spark wars and forge alliances, build empires and crumble civilizations. We've watched it preserve food, season feasts, and even heal wounds. It's been a remarkable adventure, this story of salt. Think for a moment about those ancient civilizations, huddled near the shores, their lives intimately entwined with the salty ocean. They learned its value early, this precious mineral, this white gold that kept their food from spoiling, that gave their meals a vital, life-enhancing taste. Imagine the arduous journeys, the careful collection, the slow, meticulous trade. Salt wasn't just a spice, it was a currency, a symbol of power, a necessity for survival. The very word salary, you see, is rooted in salt, a testament to its once prized status. Then came the rise of great empires, and with them vast salt works and intricate trade routes. Caravans stretched across deserts, carrying their precious burden, their survival dependent on the shimmering crystals. Salt taxed economies, fueled ambitions, and shaped the destinies of nations. Cities grew around salt mines, thriving on its abundance, their prosperity directly linked to the mineral's white gleam. Can you picture them? Those bustling marketplaces, the scent of salt mingling with the aromas of exotic spices and freshly baked bread. The quiet hum of daily life, all sustained by this seemingly simple substance. And it wasn't just the grand empires. Even in the humblest of homes, salt held a place of honor. It seasoned everyday meals, a sign of comfort and homeliness. It preserved provisions for the winter months, ensuring families would have food to eat when the land lay barren and frozen. It was a symbol of hospitality, a welcome offering to weary travelers. A simple pinch of salt, a silent gesture of kindness and community. Think of the cooks through history, each adding their pinch, their measure, their understanding of this ancient ingredient. The salt cellars, worn smooth with years of use, passed down through generations, silent witnesses to countless meals and shared stories. Generations of families gathered around tables, their lives seasoned with the taste of salt, a shared bond across time and space. Now, as you gently drift toward sleep, let the image of salt settle in your mind. Not just as a simple seasoning, but as a vibrant thread interwoven through the tapestry of human history. From the ancient shores to the bustling marketplaces, from royal kitchens to humble hearths, salt has played its part, a silent, powerful force shaping our world. Let its quiet story lull you into a peaceful slumber, and let the memory of its enduring journey, its humble yet significant role, be your gentle companion as you drift off to sleep. Sleep now. Rest.